Hey guys, John here from Bring the SEO. Today I want to talk about sales and in particular being prepared for when the phone rings and you have a potential client or prospect interested in working with you. This is this is something that I often ask. This is something I usually have a conversation with. A lot of SEO consultants, especially freelancers, are terrible at this. What happens when the phone rings? You have someone that's interested with you. The phone rings. What do you do? Explain to me what happens next. And you might be surprised in knowing that a large percentage of people that I speak with, that being, of course, SEO consultants, will essentially say to me, shit, kind of panic, not really prepared. Sometimes we ask them questions about their website. We might have them on the phone and we're looking over their website. Sometimes it turns into a website audit. We're asking them about what keywords they're interested in ranking for. We might even bring up Ahrefs or SEMrush and start doing research while we're speaking with them. I've even heard of cases where during the first call, they'll be sending over logins. The prospect will be sending over logins, and you'll have an SEO consultant who is digging around in Google Analytics and looking at, traffic and checking rank trackers and all sorts of nonsense, not to mention all of the small talk that usually goes on in amongst all of this. Who have you worked with previously? Or the last SEO consultant that we worked with was terrible. Or we worked with this agency and they ripped us off, and the weather and sport, and it gets really messy. And I think certainly with the conversations that I've had with most SEO consultants, they know they've got a problem. They know things are really disorganized and messy when the phone rings. And often, like I said, they panic and think, what do I say? How do I structure the call? How can I control the conversation? Most of them know they've got a problem, but almost all of them don't know how to fix it. This is a problem that I experienced myself, and it took me some time to figure out the best way forward in terms of being able to control the conversation, pre-qualify the lead, and save time. And saving time is, aside from those first 2 points, saving time is tremendously important, because if you're not careful, you can be on a call with someone for an hour and a half only to get to the end of the call and have them say, $2,500 a month? Oh, no. That's much more than we sort of anticipated. We were thinking maybe around $300 or maybe $500 a month. So you've just wasted all of that time. Not to mention, in a lot of cases, losing control of the conversation. I think another point worth mentioning just before I move on is that sometimes you'll end up being in a position where you're having to almost defend yourself. Okay, and they'll start pre-qualifying you, which is just an awful place to be. I understand there should be fairness, right? And the prospect is certainly entitled to ask you questions, which is all well and good, but you don't want to get into a situation where you're wasting time, you've lost control of the conversation, and you're unable to pre-qualify the lead. And this is tremendously important. This is the whole point, right? You want to pre-qualify the lead so that you know as to whether or not this is going to be a good fit in order to prevent wasting time. Now, many years ago, and I've shared this story in amongst the members in the group, many years ago, I was watching The Wolf of Wall Street. And in that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays Jordan Belfort, holds up a sheet. He starts at this penny stock company, holds up a sheet anyway. He starts at this penny stock company and he sells like $2,000 worth of stocks, and they're all gathering around. How did you do that? And he said, I follow a script. And later in the movie, he holds up the script. He has a little meeting with the staff and he holds up the script and he said, this script will save your ass. And as I was watching that movie, I thought to myself, I need something like that for my SEO agency. And that's when I took the time to sit down and put together what I now call the telephone run sheet. Or, run sheet, call it what you will. And this isn't anything new. Look, this is something that other, a lot of agencies use. Some people call it a discovery call, others call it a strategy session, triaging, call it whatever you will. But I always refer to it as pre-qualifying. And in the program, the SEO Accelerator program, I teach this whole process around a two-stage sales process. So pre-qualifying first, and then pitching and selling and closing. But the whole point of the telephone run sheet, and I should mention you get this when you sign up, the whole point of the telephone run sheet is to do three things: control the conversation, save time, and pre-qualify the lead. Now, in here are a bunch of set questions that you must ask in order to know as to whether or not they're going to be a good fit. And you'll navigate your way through the questions, and it's really easy to lead into this. Karen, have you got 5 minutes? I just want to take you through a couple of questions to see if we're a good fit, and we'll be able to help you. Sure, and then you lead into the questions. Now, I can't go through all of the questions in this video. It'll be far too long. But at the very end, and I think this is worth mentioning, right? At the very end, towards the end of this run sheet, there's a couple of things that I do always touch on before wasting any more time. I'm upfront with my prices. And this is something that I teach in the program. Like, don't waste time with prospects where you've made the assumption that they're quite willing and able to spend $5,000 a month, and you go and do a proposal or prepare a presentation, and then you pitch and they're like, oh shit, we've only got $800 a month. You've just wasted all that time. So at the very end of this run sheet, there's a couple of points in here that I cover, but one in particular is this one. We work at an hourly rate of $165 an hour for a minimum of 15 hours per month, or $2,500 a month. Now, there's a whole bunch of other points in here that I can't go through in this video because it'll be far too long. But all you're doing there is saying, you know, this is how we operate. This is our pricing, and so on and so on. And you round that out with saying, now, if everything I've just covered is of interest, the next steps are scheduling a time to go through with a short presentation. The presentation, blah, 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 blah. And from there, they'll say, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do the presentation. And now, of course, if they've pre-qualified and everything's checked out, you move on to stage 2. But if they say, oh, wow, that's far more than we can afford, then, okay, well, it's not a good fit. And the answer should be no. But being prepared, right? This is all part of sales. Be prepared. Implement something like this. If you want to save your time, rather than having to try and sit down and figure out all of this, you can just enroll to the program and you'll get a copy of this along with everything else. But you've got to have something in place like this so that you can actually pre-qualify the lead. Okay? All right, I'll leave it at that. There's far more that I can talk about in this one video when it comes to this topic, but I'll leave it at that for now. Hopefully you've found this of interest, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more, head over to bringtheseo.com. We provide business development training for SEO consultants wanting to improve their processes, increase profits, and scale to $100,000 a month or more without all the stress and overwhelm.